Hello everyone, I'm Lily, and I've been playing Phantom Forces for years. From 2015 and even before that, in fact. I have videos on my channel from years ago if you want to dig far enough to find them. And for about a year and a half, I only sniped. Nothing else, no assault rifles, no LMGs, just sniping. And that gave me a chance to really use a ton of different sniper rifles, and combined, I have tens of thousands of kills across all of them. So I feel like I've learned quite a bit about sniping and have some tips to help people improve. Some of these tips might seem like common sense, but most people seemingly don't take some things into consideration just based on watching other people play. And I think that a change of mindset and more consciousness about what it is that you're doing when playing can be pretty beneficial, and it can help you to improve in the long run. I can't make you any more skilled, I can't play for you, that's up to you. But I can give you some tips to help you not die and hopefully help you improve. So let's get into it. First tip, aim for the head. No matter what rifle you're using, aiming for the head is always important. Not only do you become a better player at the game by doing so, but you also benefit from more points, which can lead to faster rank ups. I know that when I used the BFG a lot a couple of years ago, I didn't really care about headshots. And when I wanted to really hit headshots afterwards, when I used different sniper rifles, I found that I had a hard time doing so. So if you really want to become a better player, I think hitting headshots is a very simple way to do that. Tip number 2, choose a sniper rifle that you feel comfortable with. I'm not going to tell you specifically what to use. Everyone has a preference, and while I do have strong opinions about certain rifles, you can use whatever you feel comfortable with, whether that be the Kate, Intervention, or AWS. Tip number 3. Make sure you have a good secondary. When sniping, you're likely to get rushed by an enemy, and while no-scoping people is pretty fun, it isn't always practical. Having a good and reliable secondary could mean the difference between life and death. Personally, for me, I've liked using the Deagle and the Rex. They're pretty powerful at close ranges. They can both one-shot, headshot, so you can easily just peek someone, hit them in the head, go back into cover. Really recommend those. Number 4, use sound to your advantage. In Phantom Forces, the enemies do actually have footstep sounds, and these sounds from the enemy's footsteps are louder and sound a bit different than those of your teammates. Having sound on, you can hear an enemy nearby if by chance they also aren't on the radar. And in your Phantom Forces settings, you can turn on high quality audio. That will increase the quality of what you're hearing from the game. I think it's pretty important. I rely on them. But do be mindful though that sometimes the sounds in Phantom Forces are inconsistent and you might not hear them. And that's pretty annoying, but most of the time it can even be life-saving. Tip number 5, use the radar. Using the radar, you can tell how close you might be to enemies in the game and prepare yourself by moving locations or making an effort to kill enemies that are closer to you on the radar. You are also notified yourself when you are on the radar, so you need to be mindful of that because you can also be on the radar too. So keeping an eye on that notifier on your HUD is important to staying alive. Tip number 6, always stay moving when you're not shooting. When you're not actively shooting at someone, it's best to stay moving, not necessarily a change of location, although that can be helpful, but strafing back and forth on the lookout for enemies, and that also makes it harder for you to be hit by an enemy sniper who might get the first shot on you, might not see them, you'll see their bullet flash, you'll know where they are, and because you were moving, your life was saved. Tip number 7, spam E. Spamming E can earn you more points and easily help you spot enemies where you might not have seen them. When someone is spotted and they're not hiding, you might also get the occasional wallbang off of them, which is pretty fun and satisfying to do. There are also many maps in the rotation that have gray structures that cause the enemy heads to blend in at certain times. Spotting someone by pressing E can help you spot them much easier, and spotting enemies can also help out your team, even if you don't get the kill. Tip number 8. Don't scope in unless you're taking a shot. Scoping in when you're not prepared to shoot can be pretty punishing. So many times I will see some random person on my team, usually, who is just scoped in and staring at nothing. They're just looking out into the open. And by doing that, you limit your field of view very greatly, and you also lower your speed and make yourself more vulnerable to the enemy where because you were scoped in, you couldn't see them. And it is good to be prepared, but just staying scoped in is not very smart. Tip number 9, try not to stand directly in front of a window. Standing directly in front of a window can get you killed. There's so many times where I will be sniping at a window, I'll step back, another teammate of mine will step up, and they will just get shot. It's kind of funny to watch, but also pretty sad. And when you're standing in front of a window, it opens you up to so many different angles depending on the window that you're at. Some windows are more protected, but usually you can be seen from a lot more places than you're prepared for. When sniping from a window, I recommend doing a kind of semicircle movement style when you're looking for enemies. What you can do is you can almost rotate yourself around the window while standing back, and from that you can check different angles of the map from the window without putting yourself in danger from other angles where that's your blind spot, you're not going to be able to see that, and so that's pretty helpful. And doing that, you make yourself less of a target to other players. Tip number 10. Try not to blatantly walk out in the open or put yourself in vulnerable places purposely. Many times when I am sniping, I see a lot of enemy snipers that play really aggressively and often go onto open rooftops or directly out in the open where they have no cover. And while playing aggressively might get you some kills, you're more likely to die. This can make you vulnerable from many different angles if you're just standing on top of a roof. Desert Storm and dunes are good examples of where that can happen. And you just have no cover most of the time. And so many different players, not even enemy snipers, can see you. So that's a big risk that you're taking. And without cover, you probably won't live very long if the enemy sniper or any enemy on the enemy team is viable with any kind of gun. Sometimes playing conservatively, not necessarily hiding and being cowardly, but camping is okay. But when you play conservatively, that is a better option sometimes, regardless of what your play style is. Tip number 11. Feel free to disable everyone on your team. I have always hated it when some idiot with an M4 just spawns on me and sits right in front of where I was sniping at. Disabling everyone on your team and maybe keeping just friends enabled will decrease the chance that your shot gets blocked by some pesky teammates. Unfortunately, even though you can walk through your teammates, your bullets don't go through them, and it's always annoying when you have a nice sniping spot that you would like to keep, but someone has to ruin it for you by rudely stepping in front of your shot. And for my final tip, number 12, using some attachments is okay. Some people have the impression that using attachments is bad, it seems like, but using something like a laser or a suppressor, even a ballistics tracker, is perfectly acceptable. But some other attachments like grips and certain barrel attachments are either useless or actually harm more than help. When putting on different attachments, you see the little bars move, and while it might appear like it helps the gun in some way, the statistics are sometimes misleading. Grips can cause the ADS time, which is aim down sights, time to be slower, and some barrel attachments are just kind of useless. So you don't need to add useless things onto your gun. There's no point. So I hope that these tips were at least somewhat helpful based on how I've seen other people play in the game. People really just don't get certain things. I'm not saying this is the only way to play, but some people maybe hearing these things might be a lot more helpful for them, and they might die a lot less. As a sniper, when you're dying a lot, you are ineffective. So working on trying not to die is very important. So let me know if these helped you, or if you have anything to add to my list. Let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. I'd also like to give a big shout out to my friend Neil for helping me out with this video, as he has been helping me with some of my past videos over the week. Big thanks to him.